All right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here with all your cool wrestling factoids, all the action inside and outside of the ring of the WWE, AEW, every professional wrestling organization. If it makes headline news in the professional wrestling industry, we talk about it here at the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Just kind of reflect on what we talked about real quick. We had our WWE NXT review. We had our AEW Dynamite preview. And now we're going to jump on into our FTW Championship, bout here. Recently in an interview at during the post, you saw a lot of people obviously hit up that super chat. Hit up that super chat, super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. Can't do the show without you guys 1,010%. So make sure you guys, hit up that link. Send, obviously, if you have a burning question or hot take in terms of professional wrestling, I want to hear about it. So yeah, don't be shy. Drop those questions inside the chat. The super chat, it's the $ below the chat box. So make sure, so we can have a nice, conversation going, because the show's a hell of a lot better with a lot of audience engagement. Believe me. Uh, so we're going to talk about the FTW champion. Like I said, after AEW's All In, you saw Tony Khan being kind of asked a question by journalists saying, don't you think the FTW championship is kind of a joke? Obviously, Tony Khan got a little flustered. You could tell by the look on Hook's face that he was 1,010%, not pissed off, but he was kind of like, all right, like, because that title is much more than just a title. That's the title his dad created. His dad's, obviously you know this, but his dad's Taz, in ECW. So obviously, he saw AEW President Tony Khan come to the rescue and kind of shoot that down immediately. I thought it was kind of cool. I love how he represents his wrestlers, and 1,010%. That's something I believe a lot of what AEW, they're your superstars. That's what they have in their back pocket. They have a vice president or a president that's going to go to battle for them. Like, does WWE really, did they really have that with Vince McMahon? I feel like overall Vince McMahon was kind of like that mentality of like rule with an iron fist, whatever I say goes, like, you know what I mean? Like, but Tony Khan, obviously he's a little more open to that. He understands that life does happen. Um, you know, you're not the only wrestling promotion in the world. Obviously, he does take WWE in consideration. He has a lot of respect for WWE. He even said in an interview that he does poke fun at WWE sometimes because it's just fun to kind of get the two wrestling promotions kind of at odds with each other. He kind of having that Monday Night Raw and Monday Night Nitro kind of and that's just strategic like public relations, and I feel like that's pretty cool. I feel like, I think that's pretty awesome. So the FTW, is it a joke? The FTW Championship, is it a joke? Does it remind you of titles like the 24/7 Championship? Does it remind you of titles like the WWF Hardcore Championship? The FTW Championship is kind of like a breath of nostalgia for ECW fans. Like I said, Taz did create it. Obviously, you see right there Sabu winning that title from Taz. And since Taz's name is engraved on it, he put over a sticker with his name on it. I thought that was pretty bad. I thought that was pretty cool. So, overall, I don't think the FTW Championship is a joke. It is indeed a little unique. It is a little unique, but obviously, AEW embraces that, PG-13 and above kind of mentality in terms of their viewership and audiences. They love it. They love it 1,010%. That's a huge reason why I like AEW. I do. You see blood. You see, someone throwing a curse word here and there. You see like a gruesome promo, or you just see, I don't know. It's just overall, I respect what Tony Khan is doing, and the FTW Championship. It's been a staple with AEW since since it made its way into existence in 2019. It's a great way. It's a great way for superstars to kind of like you saw Jungle Boy Jack Perry, like when he was making that transition into being that, okay, do I want to be a mid-carder my whole entire life? Do I want to be known as the Jungle Boy, or do I want to be known as the scapegoat Jack Perry? Also, when Hook started, he had the championship as well. Brian Cage the leader of the Cage of Agony. Like he's impressive as hell. Obviously, like, holding that title, he made that prestigious. So, a lot of superstars did hold this championship. Like I said, Chris Jericho as well. He was, he made that championship great. He just, he pissed everybody off. It's going to be interesting to find out the learning tree mentality as soon as they make their way onto AEW Dynamite tonight. Maybe they have a little bit of maybe a thorn in their side, maybe a thumbtack up their butt. And, Chris Jericho turns heel. The whole learning tree just absolutely goes crazy. I know Big Bill, the learning tree, got a huge positive response when he had his match with Hook. So maybe it could possibly maybe being his time to shine. Maybe he challenges Hook next. But overall, I think the FTW Championship, although it is unique, and although it might not make a lot of sense to wrestling fans, because throughout wrestling, once when a lot of wrestling promotions went down under, you had WWE kind of staple its name as the main, kind of like, okay, this is what it means to be a wrestling promotion. You don't need blood. You don't need thumbtacks. You don't need chairs. You don't need people throwing themselves off Titantrons. But FTW Championship, the AEW, they pushed the envelope, and the fans seem to love it. The fans seem to love it. Obviously, people love and respect Hook when he makes his way inside of the ring every single time. And the FTW Championship is it's not the only championship in AEW. You know what I mean? Like if people want to like be like, oh, I don't want to fight for the FTW Championship, then you can. There's Continental. There's also the International. There's the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. There's also this new partnership that Tony Khan has with Ring of Honor. You can challenge for all the Ring of Honor belts. Also, the New Japan Professional Wrestling, all the New Japan Professional Wrestling strong belts. The CMLL, the Willow Nightingale, an AEW superstar, is the CMLL World Women's Champion. So obviously, there's a lot of different ways you can go about your career. The journalist that kind of mentioned it, I see what he means. I definitely 1,010% kind of see what he means. I watched a pay-per-view AEW Double or Nothing at Las Vegas where Chris Jericho threw out a bunch of dice and suplexed Hook onto it, and I was like, all right, it's starting to get a little, it's starting to get a little. But overall, that's what do you expect? What do you expect? Like what I mean? Like the FTW Championship, it is what it is. It's not made to make superstars who hold it into this on-screen kind of person you can't take serious. It's not a joke. It's not a joke to them. So why do you have to disrespect it? If someone's holding when R-Truth hold the 24/7 championship, people are like, oh, that title's a joke. Dude, I held that title proud. If I won, if your GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast host, Eric Rodriguez, held the 24/7 championship of WWE, I would 1,010% be like, dude, this is sick. I feel like I've won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I felt like I've won the Larry O'Brien Trophy. I feel like I've won the Stanley Cup. That's how, dude, it's a title is a title. A title is most importantly, in terms of professional wrestling, it's a way to kind of convict and kind of, intervene different types of storylines. It's a way to kind of put faces of superstars in on the mix. And Hook is an impressive talent in AEW. So he holds the championship proud for his father. And, just I don't know. It shouldn't be considered ever as it's a joke. Any belt should, the 24/7 Hardcore Championship during the WWF run was a little bit when Crash Holly was trying to trying to crash out in the APA office, and then you had I think it was JBL. I think it was JBL who covered him. I think you had the referee count slowly and quietly. He was like, it was funny. It was cool, but it served its purpose. The WWF fans knew exactly what it was, and they didn't resent it. They took it as a way to kind of be entertaining. So definitely love I love wonky I love wonky bookings. I love wonky titles and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's kind of crazy. And if you really think about it, this title is the only title that is left out of ECW. The only title left standing. Hook made ECW history. AEW history, winning the FTW Championship 3 times. Journalist Sam Smith, instead of congratulating Hook, would actually kind of insult the title holder. It's kind of crazy. Basically saying it with, calling it, a bit of a joke, irritating Tony Khan and, Hook. The FTW Championship was brought in as a really important part of the company. Um, created by Hook's father Taz. ECW's legit alternate to ECW's title legit. Okay, basically, when people thought about the ECW World Heavyweight Championship, they thought of the FTW Championship as like kind of like its equal, back once during the ECW days. Um, it's Right now, it has been inactive. It has been inactive for 21 years. Obviously, brought back. The two belts was unified. The FTW Championship, also the ECW Championship. That's why it's no longer called the FTW Championship. It's the World Heavyweight FTW Wrestling Champion. Kind of being that last nostalgic breath of ECW. A lot of fans still watch highlights of ECW. I'm one of those guys. It was like, during its time, it was appropriate. During its time, it was cool, it was badass, it was edgy, it was very, at times could be a little gruesome. But overall, I feel like the title has served its purpose on AEW. And I don't know, I just don't really feel like it should be, kind of talked down a little bit. All right, so the FTW history obviously is now updated. We have Ricky Starks, who held the championship for 378 days. Brian Cage held it for 377. Chris Jericho, 124. Sabu, 92 days. Taz held it for 219. Imagine 2000. That's crazy. 219 days. Jack Perry, scapegoat, held the FTW World Championship for 39 days. Hook has held it for an astounding 596 days in his third time reign. A huge round of applause. Round of applause for my man Hook right there. When you see the signal high in the sky, no, don't fear. Hook is here. So, definitely love him as an FTW champion. I like the way he holds it. Obviously, representing his father, pretty damn well. And just the ECW chain, that was something that was very special to Taz, something that was very special to Paul Heyman, something that was very special to people like the Dudley Boys, just incredible. The Sandman, Rob Van Dam. A lot of, probably people look at the FTW championship, they kind of see it, they're like, that's cool. That's cool. All right, guys. So, guys, do not go anywhere. We're going to talk about Becky Lynch trends during AEW All-In. You saw Jamie Hayter make her debut. Not her debut, her return, and she looked exactly like Becky Lynch, and she started trending during AEW, All-In. So we're going to talk about that when we return. So hey, do not go anywhere.